Kawhi Leonard is one of the quietest and most enigmatic NBA superstars ever. He never talks much, doesn't wear flashy clothes, and gives off a vibe that he just wants to play basketball and then go straight home to be left alone. Fans usually don't know much about Kawhi, other than what they see on the court. So here are 10 things about Kawhi Leonard you probably didn't know. Kawhi didn't play basketball his freshman year of high school because his coach wanted him to cut his braids. Kawhi attended Canyon Springs High School in Moreno Valley as a freshman. Because his mother was unable to drive him to basketball tryouts, and there was no Uber back then, he didn't make the team, so he started playing football instead. The 6'3" tight end with braids caught the eye of the basketball assistant coach, and he asked Leonard if he would like to play basketball for the school. Kawhi said yes, and had a meeting with the coach, Jeff Stovall, who said he could play on the team, but under one condition: if he cut his braids. Kawhi has worn his braids since he was 7, and wouldn't cut them for anybody. He refused and sat out the entire year. His relationship with the coach never really blossomed after that, so he transferred to Martin Luther King Jr. High School for his junior and senior years, where he got the title Mr. Basketball California, awarded for the best high school player in the state. When Kawhi was 16 years old, his father was shot and killed. Unfortunately, individual and mass murders in America are not anything out of the ordinary, especially in Compton, where Kawhi spent a part of his childhood. January 18th of 2008 was supposed to be just another day for the Leonard family, but it turned into a disaster. Just as Kawhi was prepping to play a high school tournament, his father Mark was about to finish his day at the car wash he owned and operated. Leonard Sr. was excited to close the shop and go see his son play, when a stranger showed up and pointed a gun at him. Mark's pregnant wife and employees scattered, and the stranger started shooting at Mark, hitting him with several shots. He didn't survive, and Kawhi lost his father at the age of 16, as a high school junior. Unfortunately, the murder case is still unsolved, and the killer and his motive are yet to be identified. In honor of his late father, Kawhi got a shoulder tattoo saying "R.I.P. Dad." Kawhi played in a basketball game the day after his father passed. The next day after his father was killed, Kawhi's team was still in the tournament and had a game to play, and he decided to participate despite his father passing less than 24 hours ago. Coaches told him he could sit out, but Kawhi used basketball as a refuge and didn't want to let his teammates down. He scored 17 points in an 8-point loss, and after the game he broke down and left the court crying in his mother's arms. He later said that his father would have wanted him to play, and to play as hard as he could no matter the circumstances. That was something instilled in him from an early age, and something that definitely crossed over when he came to the NBA. Kawhi was traded for on draft night. 2011 NBA draft was stacked, and 7 players drafted that year made the All-Star game. Kawhi wasn't that hyped coming into the draft, as he wasn't much of an offensive player in college. That's why he slipped all the way to the Indiana Pacers at number 15, who subsequently traded him to the Spurs for George Hill. In retrospect, it was one of the worst trades in Pacers franchise history because they traded the best player in the draft. However, nobody could have known what kind of player Leonard would become back then, because he was still pretty raw. And that's only a testament to his work ethic and will to become the best player he could be. Even Greg Popovich and the Spurs were not sure of Leonard when they made the trade, and Pop said that trading away George Hill was the hardest decision of his career. Hill was playing great the year before and was one of Pop's favorite players ever. But because they needed to get bigger on the wing, they ultimately traded for Leonard, which of course proved to be a great decision. Kawhi's hands are 52% larger than the average person. If you heard of Kawhi Leonard, you have also most likely heard about his hands. Kawhi's huge hands are 52% larger than the average male, and a big reason why he's able to steal the ball from other NBA players like taking candy from a baby. While his laughter gave him a nickname Fun Guy, his hands got him the nickname The Claw, which is appropriate when you're able to palm a ball like it's nothing. Kawhi's mittens are 11.5 inches from thumb to little finger, which is one of the biggest measurements in the history of the NBA Draft Combine. And Kawhi even used them as a motive for his KL logo. One of 3 players to win a Finals MVP with 2 different teams. NBA of the past cared a lot more about tradition, and most great players played with one franchise for their entire careers. Bird was with the Celtics, Magic played with the Lakers, and MJ was a synonym for the Chicago Bulls. NBA of the present is about transition and player empowerment. It's hard to see one player stick with the same team forever. That being said, there are only 3 players in NBA history that have won Finals MVP with 2 different teams. Kareem did it with the Bucks and the Lakers. LeBron won in Miami and Cleveland, and Kawhi joined them after a spectacular run in Toronto this past summer. It's kind of counterintuitive to leave a winning team. However, Kawhi did it twice. First, he demanded a trade from the Spurs, who are the most successful NBA franchise of the last 20 years, and where he won his first title and Finals MVP. And then he did it again a year later, after he delivered a first NBA title to Canada. He traded cold Toronto winters for sunny California, and thus became the first player to leave a team after winning Finals MVP. Kawhi's uncle, Dennis Robertson, serves as his primary business advisor. When his father died, Kawhi's uncle, Dennis Robertson, took the role of a father figure and is one of the people Kawhi trusts the most. Robertson has a business degree and has worked as an executive for over 30 years before becoming Kawhi's primary business advisor. Robertson, who is often called Uncle Dennis around the league, played a crucial role in Kawhi's recent free agency decision, as well as his move from Nike to New Balance. Uncle Dennis proved to be a tough negotiator, which gave him a rather bad rep in NBA circles. In what was an unprecedented scenario in modern fast-tweeting NBA, Kawhi and Dennis forced teams to stay silent during his free agency decision, which left the whole league on pause for several days before Kawhi ultimately signed with the Clippers. It all worked out well for Kawhi, so who says you shouldn't do business with family? Kawhi Leonard doesn't use social media. Do you follow Kawhi on Instagram? Yeah, me neither, because he doesn't have an account there and doesn't use social media at all. Kawhi is a very low-key kind of person who likes to mind his own business and not share too much. He's become masterful at avoiding reporters when he doesn't have any obligations towards them. And when he does speak, he draws comparisons to robots. Just like his game, the substance is far greater than style. He did make a Twitter account in 2014 and has tweeted precisely 4 times since then, all in 2015. He follows only 6 accounts on Twitter, including San Antonio Spurs, the Jordan Brand, and Jamal Crawford. When reporters asked him about his non-existent social media presence, Kawhi said that he'd rather just be at home, with his off time going towards his family and friends, enjoying the moment, living life, not through a phone, which is something we should all consider a bit more. Kawhi still drove a 1997 Chevy Tahoe after signing a $94 million deal. There's no shame in driving an old car if it still drives and serves its purpose. However, it's a bit strange when somebody does it, and they have millions of dollars in their bank account. But it wasn't strange to Kawhi, who was spotted driving a 1997 Tahoe in 2016, 1 year after he signed a $94 million deal with the Spurs. This is just another detail to the story of an introverted guy who doesn't like to show off and bring any attention towards himself. The gas guzzler, as Leonard called it, is a bit repaired and works just fine. Kawhi owned the car since he was in high school and decided it's still good enough for him once he made it to the NBA. He eventually gave in to the peer pressure of his friends and family and bought a Porsche, which is probably a better option if you're trying to move in LA traffic. Kawhi Leonard is adamant about using load management. He learned it from Coach Pop, and then he made it famous. The term load management is now heard all over the NBA, but it all started with one fun guy, Kawhi. A bad quad injury caused Kawhi to miss almost an entire 2017-18 season because the Spurs rushed him to get back out on the court, and he was still not feeling ready. He lost faith with the franchise and forced the trade to Toronto, where the term load management was coined. Kawhi didn't play any back-to-back games with the Raptors as a part of the plan not to overload the quad and knee, which was still not 100%. Since the move paid off and the Raptors lifted the Larry O'Brien trophy, the load management movement was soon widely accepted in the league. Resting players is no longer taboo, and Kawhi made it okay for players to sit out games and make their long-term health a priority.